Welcome back to the Milwaukee Show, and we are here to talk all about the Colorado Avalanche and their going-ons as of late. Now, this team, I'm not going to break any news to you, but I'm going to tell you anyways. This team 1 year ago was crowned and got to lift Lord Stanley's Cup above their head, as in my eyes, they were the greatest team to ever be built and win the Stanley Cup. They went on to destroy and defeat every team in their way, including the reigning defending back-to-back champs 3 years in a row to the Stanley Cup Finals, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And now they were crowned victorious with being such a stacked offense, defense, and goaltending team. This team was truly the unstoppable force that everyone knew they could be. But then this year comes where they lose a lot of pieces, an injury happens, things happen, and they lose in the first round of their defending year. And things don't look too good for Colorado. And I made a video a couple weeks ago talking about the team, what they need to do, what their issues were. And you know what? I want to do a little bit of an update because I like what they've done after what I talked about. So their issues, of course, in the playoffs, and kind of obvious going in why I kind of chose Seattle to beat them. I'd go back and watch. I did that. And obviously, their one issue was offensive depth. This team, the top line, when they were playing against Seattle, whenever the names McKinnon, Makar, or Rantanen were on the ice, everything was fine. The team was in charge, and even after that, things were pretty okay, but really the Avalanche looked like they were in charge of the game when those three names were on the ice, or at least one of them. If Makar was on the ice with Devon Taves, things were pretty good too. But whenever, let's say those four guys, that top line and this first line pairing for the Colorado Avalanche, things were fine. Other than that 20 to 30 minutes being on the ice of those guys, the other 40 to 30 minutes, whenever those guys were not on the ice, Seattle looked like they were probably the better team. And really, it just comes down to the offensive depth. The guys like Darren Helm, or Dennis Mulligan, were not going to get the job done for Colorado. When those guys were on the ice, it was like, oh my God, do they even they're old. You got to get out. I mean, Mulligan's not old, but it's like these guys are not it. This is not the Stanley Cup winning team I know from last year. And I don't want to say they were being ragdolled by any means, but the team did not look competent, and they really need some offensive depth. It's just not guys that are really, maybe not produce a bunch of points, but guys to keep them in the game, guys to keep them competitive and tighten the matchup when those guys aren't on the ice, to get them out there and keep the game even, shut them down, play good defense and good offense, get a couple goals in, get one goal in a night and have Makar and McKinnon and Rantanen and Nichushkin and Lehkonen combine for 2 goals or something like that, and you win 3-2. Something along those lines. That's what they need, some competitive depth on this team, as well as a second line of center, especially since guys like with Nichushkin being kicked out early on in that playoff series. That second line was really abysmal. Guys like JT Compher and Alex Newhook just are not good enough to really keep a team competitive. Like, they are solid guys. Newhook eventually, I think, will grow into being that guy, but he's just not yet. And JT Compher is the perfect definition of that type of centerman that a team needs on their third line to win. You know, take like the Boston Bruins. I know they didn't win the Stanley Cup, but just take them. You need a top line of like Bergeron and Krejci, and then a guy like Charlie Coyle or a guy like JT Compher to be that third line centerman. If you're a second line centerman, your team's going to lose at some point in the playoffs. If a guy like Compher's on your third lines, that is when you know you've got a true contender. And that's just it. That second line centerman was just not there. It was not Compher. It was not Newhook. And especially when Nichushkin gone to being that anchor of that second line, being the true star, with him gone, that second line, other than the first one, everyone below the head and neck of the Colorado Avalanche was just abysmal to watch out there, really. And those were their big issues. How have they addressed them? And I like what they have done to address these issues. First, they get Jonathan Drouin, the guy who's been just a not even back and forth, just kind of a disappointing player. But this guy, if you didn't know, in the juniors was an absolute dynamo and a dynamic duo with Nathan McKinnon in the juniors. And if they can get him onto this team and those two can combine together and get some true points, with Drouin getting 29 points in 58 games in an not injury, but with him being whatever, and being able to get up to 29 points on a terrible team like the Canadiens, with I think only combining like 12 minutes maybe a night. I think it was something like that. If he can go on that first line with Nathan MacKinnon and get up to those 20 minutes, and he can get from 29 points to, let's say, like Lekkonen's this year, like 50s or something like that, which seems obvious with a team being such a absolutely amazing team like the Avalanche. Easily I could see that happening. And if they can get that to work, absolutely fantastic. If they don't, there's really no risk, as it's only 1 year for less than $1 million. It's really a no-risk contract. It's kind of a prove-yourself deal, and Duran being able to come onto this team, a winning atmosphere, and have a real opportunity to maybe combine with his old friend in MacKinnon, I think could be absolutely fantastic. I like the pickup there. Miles Wood, now this is the one that's confusing because he signs a 6-year deal at $2.5 million. Now, the cap, 2.5, I think is perfect for a guy like Miles Wood. But for 6 years to sign a depth pickup, a guy that'll never play on the second line, to 6 years, just seems like a lot. Like, just that's a lot of time. Like, you don't even know, like, what if this guy, like, is an absolute brat and hates the team or something like that, you know? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of a bizarre pickup in my eyes. So just, it's been a weird one there. But Wood, 27 points. He's the type of player that a winning team does need, though. He brings the energy. He brings that momentum. He's the type of guy that every team needs. He's the guy that won't get you points, but he will get you everything else. He's not going to score a goal, but he will do, like, everything else right except score a goal. And every team needs those type of guys, right? But they can't be the focal point. So for 6 years to have him for that long, a guy that you know isn't going to be doing that, because I think he's like 27 years old. Like, he's already kind of proven, like, who he is. Like, it's not like he's going to grow anymore. It's a good pickup. I like it for depth. I mean, they definitely need offensive depth. Guys like, exactly like Miles Wood, to keep them competitive in the games. It's a guy like Wood, and just a good pickup, but just kind of a weird, I don't know. But great pickup there. Ryan Johansson as the solution to the second-line centerman. I like this move. I think I would have liked to see them go for a guy like Matt Duchene later on after he was bought out by the Predators, but I get they already did this one first. It happened first, so I get why they did it, but I think Duchene definitely would have been a way better option. They should have just waited a little bit, but whatever. But Ryan Johansson, picking him up, 28 points last year for only 55 games. This guy, he's the type of player that they really could bank on, because especially with the winning atmosphere and just the solid running gun type of play, I think Ryan Johansson will kind of work with, especially with his like hands and the way he plays. I think he could definitely, if there was a team for a guy like Johansson or a guy like Nazem Kadri in the past to go to and be that second line centerman and just kind of play his game and work into the system and not have the pressure on him to be the number one guy, kind of like he was in that. Well, he was kind of a second one anyways, and whatever. I think Colorado is the place for Ryan Johansson to bounce back and have that opportunity to just be that that 70-point player that he was in the past. And for $4 million for 2 more years, it's not really risky, but not a bad, like, medium risk with potentially high or mediocre rewards. Because if it doesn't work out, 28 points last year during an injury season, and if he plays the full year this year, and let's say 82-point games, not being injured, playing with Colorado, I mean, would you be surprised if he gets to 50 to 60 points? No. Is that bad for a second-line centerman? Not really, especially with the anchor on that line being Nichushkin. I like it. And then you've got Ross Colton. Now, he's in RFA. He's not re-signed yet, but he's on the team. I'm sure they're going to figure out a deal with him. They got enough cap space to definitely sign a guy like him. 32 points last year for the Tampa Bay Lightning, playing third-line minutes for Tampa Bay. Ross Colton's one of those guys that I loved on Tampa Bay, and Colorado saw him up front and center when they played him in the finals. I like this pickup for them. They move out Newhook, a guy who's not really showing signs of true development, really, and they move him out and they bring in Ross Colton, a guy who's got that playoff experience. He's still young, and he's not a veteran, but he's got the experience, and he's still got room to grow, and being that centerman on this team and maybe becoming that, giving the opportunity to be that second-line centerman if Johansson doesn't work out. What if you put Ross Colton there? He works out well there, and he's one of those guys that rises to the occasion. Watching Tampa Bay in the playoffs, Colton's always one of those guys that I've noticed is one that shows up when the team needs him. Like, he's not going to be changing like the course of a game on his own. But when the team needs like that one goal to tie it or the one goal to get the momentum going, Ross Colton's one of those names that jump out, and it's like Colton's going to go out there and he's going to just shove the puck in the back of the net. He's not going to make some crazy move to do it, but he's going to be in the right place at the right time. He's kind of the opposite of Miles Wood, where I feel like Wood does like so much. He's fast, he hits, he does everything else right except get goals. Ross Colton, not to say that he doesn't do anything else right, but he's one of those guys that he's not going to do anything that crazy elsewhere, but he's going to get that big goal to happen for you. And I know that might sound ridiculous, and I'm sure I'm probably wrong, but that's how I feel. And I like it. So these moves right here, these four guys, right, automatically the second line getting some boost, and that third line definitely getting some getting a boost as well, being upgraded. I like the depth signings here, and I like that they've addressed the issues. But my question is, what will be the results? Because last year, those were big glaring holes in their lineup that it was like, man, you got Dennis Mulligan, and they re-signed Cogliano again, but he's still aging. Like, is he going to be the same kind of guy? This ship has got a lot of holes. And really, my question for Colorado is, are they filling those holes with Flex Seal or Scotch tape? And I know that sounds really stupid, but that's what I mean. Are these fixes going to give them the results of, like, the results they're looking for, or will it not be, or will it sink the ship again? Will Johansson be a very bad pickup? He won't get the 50 points. Maybe he's stuck in the 20s. Maybe he only gets the 30 points. Maybe he has another big injury and he's out the rest of the season. Maybe Jonathan Drouin is really just not that type of player that they want him to be. And sure, it's no money really, but he just doesn't really not do anything. Miles Wood gets only 2 goals and 10 assists this year because he doesn't do anything on this team. And Ross Colton is a shining beacon, but he's not a fix to this lineup. Or will they be exactly how I'm thinking of them? Drouin combining with Nathan MacKinnon to make that top line, Rantanen the super goal scorer, MacKinnon being the superstar, and Jonathan Drouin being that wild card factor. Second line, Johansson being able to play some dangles and get the puck onto Nichushkin, who can just ram the net and score a goal. Miles Wood just being able to do everything right, feed the puck to Colton where he can wrist it in the back of the net, right? Is that what I'm hoping? I hope that's what happens, because Colorado, I'm kind of cheering for them. I want their redemption to come back this year. And they're probably not done, because they still have $6.8 million left to spend. And, of course, being a playoff team, they're going to spend it. Now, you have to subtract Ross Colton from that number. I would assume I would say he gets a short-term deal, maybe 2-3 years. I would say probably 2 for maybe $3 million. So they still got, like, at least $3.8 million, rounded up to 4, left to spend. And guys out there that are probably on the move, guys like Elias Lindholm, if they can bring him onto this team, and then that is their true 1-year deal for 4 whatever million that he's being paid, something very low, and they can put him on that second line. So Johansson's that third line with Colton and Miles Wood down there. Second line of being Elias Lindholm and Valeri Nichushkin, I think would be the absolute perfect pickup in Elias Lindholm. Usually I list a couple guys like, well, William Nylander or something like that. No, I think Elias Lindholm, the right-handed centerman who's been just I think would be the absolutely perfect pickup to put on that second line, move down Johansson to that second. $8 million is what he's being paid for one more year. Bring him on, put him in that spot. See if the cap raises next year. Maybe you can move out another contract next season, re-sign the guy for longer. I think would be absolutely huge, as this is a year, once again, I don't want to say they're fortunate, but they've got the cap space to do it. I say this team needs to do it. They obviously showed last year that they suffered from not having that Kadri super good second-line centerman. They really need a guy to fill in those shoes, and why not take the guy who's on Kadri's current team in Elias Lindholm? I'm just saying, I think that would be the perfect pickup for them to do it, because the defense on this team, elite. This team is absolutely incredible. The defense, I think, is maybe my number one, maybe at least top 3 in the league. And so defense, elite. McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, I could go on, but those 3 guys, like, absolutely incredible. Lehkonen, absolutely incredible as well. Offense, I don't got to tell you, it's absolutely amazing. And the team just needs a little bit more, because they showed last season that you can't just win, and the Oilers have showed us over and over that you can't just win with a couple good guys. You need a team. And this team, they're putting together a team, but it's still a little risky. I like the moves, but you don't know how they're going to work out. And is it Occam's razor, where it's the most likely solution is going to be the real one? And I would say being optimistic, I like the idea of these guys jumping out and really proving themselves, but Occam's razor says most likely that these type of guys, they stay the way they are. Ryan Johansson, if he plays the full season, gets to 40-something points, 40 to 50. I guess we'll have to see. But that is all I got to say. I like the moves. At the end of the day, just to sum up, I like the moves. I like it. I think Colorado's on the right path, and I don't think they're done. I really think Elias Lindholm is their winning ticket right there. But that is all I gotta say. So thank you for watching this. If you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.